Hi, Yolande.
Are you okay?
I'm well, I'm good. Are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you.
Well, thank you for agreeing to join us today for another seminar, another talk around homeschooling. And just to let everyone know, we're live on Facebook. So just in case, make sure you're ready and prepared. We might have some questions coming in from people who are watching live on the watch party on Facebook, but I've also got some questions prepared already for you anyway. So yeah, let's get started.
Okay.
How are you today? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. Today's been a nice day. Been out with the children on a little bike ride. It's just nice having the nice weather. It's been quite chilled. So yeah, today's been a good one. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Getting outdoors for fresh air is good. I mean, we need the fresh air and we need the like sunshine in this situation, don't we? Because it gets really like cabin fever otherwise.
It's true. And to be honest, it's only recently that I've started doing that. Like for all these weeks, we've not been getting out as much as maybe we could have done. I've just found it difficult, really. But now that I have started doing that, it's definitely beneficial. I can tell, you know, that it's helping us.
Oh, good. Excellent. Yeah. I'm glad it's been a massive one for us as well. Like the girls want to get out and run around and do different things, and I'm just like, I'm trying to pick the time when we go so that we're not going around with crowds of people anywhere. But to be fair, they've kind of been all right in the garden and stuff like that for now. I don't think it's going to last much longer though. I think I'm going to have to like take them somewhere.
Yeah, that's it. You'll have to play it by ear.
Exactly. But let's get into it then. And we spoke about this before, so I'm going to just quickly introduce who you are a little bit. So this is the lovely Yolande, and I met you years and years and years ago. I can't even remember when, like a long time ago. And I know that you've not recently, but in the last few years, gone on a homeschooling journey anyway, way before this COVID-19 pandemic and stuff like that. Yeah. So you have two young children, boy and a girl. I see lots of stuff about your daughter. She sounds like a diva, a bit like me and my children.
She really is. It's all true.
No lies here then, it's all true. Great. So I'm going to kind of go into your homeschooling journey a little bit and see if we can kind of give some tips and advice and some kind of reassurance really to everybody that's sort of been thrown into this homeschooling journey over the last sort of 7 weeks. Yeah. Not everybody is used to teaching. Not everybody can teach. I saw a prayer on Facebook that somebody posted saying, Lord Jesus, help me. I'm not a dinner lady. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a TA. I'm none of those things. I'm just a mom. Help me to manage this situation. Yeah. And I think it's true, isn't it? We've been sort of launched into this out of our control, having to navigate through with work and life and everything else. So yeah. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for agreeing to join and discuss this with us. Thank you to everybody that's watching as well on Facebook. If you've got any questions, please submit them and we will try our best to get through them all as quickly as we can. So the first one, it's not really a question, it's more of a tell us about your journey into homeschooling.
Okay, right. So like you say, I have two children. I've got a 9-year-old boy and a 7-year-old daughter. It was her birthday yesterday. She's 7 now. I know.
Happy birthday.
I know, bless her. And so when we started home educating, Caleb did go to school, and we pulled him out during year 1. So he was just shy of 6. Yeah, he was just shy of 6. Naomi's never been. And we kind of fell into it in a way. I think it started because we didn't want to send Naomi. I felt like I'd come to the conclusion that she was too young to go. I didn't want to send her so young. I wanted to delay her entry into school. And in doing my research for that, I stumbled across home education. And I didn't even know it was a thing. So I kind of discovered it and looked into it and did my research. And I felt like this was something that could really benefit Caleb, who was already in the system, and our family as a whole. Caleb never really had any major issues at school. I know that there are home educating families that have had quite the situation when their children have been in the school system. But that isn't really true for us. There were some issues with, you know, they were, his school were expecting him, his teacher was expecting him to be writing a lot more, even at that young age of like 5. And he's July born as well. So I felt like he was one of the youngest in the class. And I don't know, I just felt like rather than focusing on some of the positive things, there was this big emphasis on the things that he wasn't doing. And it was only the writing situation, really. And she would say to me at parents' evening, you know, when a question was being asked, he was the child with his hand in the air. He had all the ideas. He's very enthusiastic. But when it came to getting it down on paper, you know, he wasn't doing what they wanted him to do. And it was creating quite a bit of anxiety for Caleb and stuff like that. So anyway, by this point, I'd already done a lot of research about home ed. And we kind of felt like, I say we, my husband and I felt like it was a good step to take. It was a good decision to make. So we did. We just wrote the letter to school and took him out. And that's when our journey started. And we've been on this road now. It will be 4 years in June. Next month will be 4 years. So
that's amazing.
It's gone really quickly though. Like when I've seen it written down on the paper, like 4 years, I'm thinking, wow, that has gone quick. But yeah, so that's how it all started really. And we've just been going. We've just kind of taken the time to find our feet, and we're in a nice rhythm now. So it's nice. We've been in a nice rhythm for a while. So my heart actually does go out to all of the parents who have been thrown into this situation, because we had time to think it through. We had time to talk to teachers. We had time to speak to the children. You know, we geared ourselves up, we got prepared, and we entered into this journey like consciously. It was a decision. Whereas everyone else is kind of just, it's been thrown in the middle of a global pandemic. There's a lot going on, and you know, my heart does go out to everyone that's just had to kind of scramble and try and deal with it as best as we can. What I would say is that even though, you know, I'm a seasoned home educator, this isn't normal. Like, this isn't normal for anybody. This has been hard for us in the sense that we would not normally be in the house as much as what we are. We're out here, there and everywhere. The children are involved in a lot of different things, activities, groups, workshops, even if it's just a trip to the library, to a museum, you know, all over the place. So being indoors like this isn't home educating. It's not the usual pattern. So it's difficult for everyone. But what we have got to our advantage, I guess, is that we're already in a rhythm in terms of how we approach the academics and how we do that, what that looks like in our house. But it has taken time to get to this point. I don't know if I'm going too far.
No, that's really good. And I think it's really important to set the foundation and lay the context of your journey, because some people will see this. And I do think during this pandemic, there are people that will see at home educating and think, actually, do you know what? I think this is better for my child. There are parents that are saying, forget this, they've got to go back to school as fast as possible, quickly open the schools or whatever. But I think it's really important to set the context, because it is research. You've done research, you've spoken to teachers, you've done a lot, you did a lot of groundwork before you got to the point where you are now. So that's really good and really useful to know. My question would be also, another question I have is, what is a normal kind of routine like for you in your house, excluding the current situation?
On a normal day. Okay, so number one, the first thing is we haven't got to get up at the crack of dawn. It works for us because my children are not early risers anyway. I tend to get up before the children. I could get up at, say, 7:30, 8 o'clock, and they're still asleep.
Wow.
And I still have, like, you know, some time to have a coffee, get my mind right, get ready.
Wow.
If I'm really enthusiastic, I might do some exercise. You know, but you just have that nice sort of gentle step into the day. And then the children would get up and we'll do breakfast. by the time we've had breakfast and everything, then we settle down and do our like focused learning. So I always make sure we do maths and English, literature, writing, reading, whatever it might be. And we always do maths as well. And then after that, it could be whatever. If the children are working on a project, we can crack on with their project. We also do Black history. That actually is something that we do: maths, English, Black history, and then anything else on top of that. So it could be general history, science experiments, geography, whatever. If the children are working on a project, that. And then we also, or if we've been booked onto a workshop, we'll go out and do that. Or we'll go and meet up with friends at a park or at a museum or somewhere, or we'll have them round, we'll have play dates, depending on the weather, because like if it's raining, we don't go out. So, you know, that tends to be how it works really. And then they also have their like after school activities. Okay. So dance, gymnastics, parkour, beavers, cubs. No, it's not cubs. There it is, it's cubs. Beavers and cubs. So with all of that, I'll just taxi them around to wherever they're going.
Yeah, as mums and dads tend to do, just shop them from one place to the next. It's interesting that you say after school activities, because it's like you automatically forget. Like in my mind, when you talk about homeschool, I think, oh, why would they have after school clubs kind of thing? Like, because normally after school clubs serve as almost a babysitting for us, or some kind of childcare, so I can extend my day, my working day or whatever. So when you say it like that, actually it's like, oh gosh, I hadn't thought of that, extracurricular activities on top of what you're already doing. So okay, so that's cool, and that's not too dissimilar to what I've been doing in the house with the girls during this period. You say that you do, I know you're quite well networked in sort of home education networks, so you go to lots of different activities and do lots of different workshops and things like that. And at the end of this, actually, we can get links and we can share resources and all that sort of stuff for people to do if they choose to, I suppose. But my other question was going to be this: what advice now would you give to us who are just literally finding our feet, trying to make it work? I know I'm quite fortunate in the sense that the schools that my children are at have sent through work every single day that fill up more or less the school day. Right. And we've been managing to get through most of it, except for today when I just said, they said no, I said no, we all said no. No, we're not doing any of it and we're going to do something different. And they did. They were outside for most of the day and then they made food and whatever. But what advice would you give to parents who are going through this situation right now and are not seasoned or not aware of how this even works? What would you give? Because we're 7 weeks in. Yeah. We've had probably a timetable. We've adjusted the timetable. We've ripped up the timetable. What advice would you give us?
Okay. So see, my number one bit of advice that I would give all parents at this time is to just give yourselves a large dose of grace, and also your children. Because like we say, this isn't normal, and you've got to go easy on yourself, be kind. So that aside, I think it's difficult because, you see, one of the things that is really good about this is that you get to spend this time with your child or children, and you can try and see what works for them. And this isn't something that we always get the chance to do if they're in the traditional school system. I don't know, maybe in school they do look at kind of how your child learns best. I'm not sure, or do they just kind of do the lesson and you sink or swim? But it's a nice opportunity to kind of see how your children learn best. And this is something that I know I had to do with my own children once I took them out of school. So observing them, trying lots of different things. If worksheets are like, if they look at a workbook and look at a worksheet and you just know that it's going to be an issue, then try and remix it. I know for me, like Caleb really likes things that he can touch and manipulate, and that helps him to make sense of what it is that he's looking at. So we do a lot of that. with maths, and I think that is something that is done in schools, like lots of manipulatives and things like that. So if you can do that, and it doesn't have to be no big, crazy stuff. Use pasta out of the cupboard, pasta shells, pegs off the washing line. Do you know what I mean? Anything that they can kind of like manipulate with their hands to help them with maths, stuff like that. So observing your children, and if they like Naomi really likes arts and crafts, so we try and tag arts and crafts into a lot of the things that she does. So we'll be talking about a topic, and then we'll draw a picture about it or create a model about it, because that's what she enjoys, and I know that that's going to make it stick more. If she enjoyed it, she's going to engage with it better. Some things, worksheets and workbooks are fine. Other things, you got to be a bit more creative about it. YouTube is also your friend, so if you can find a video about it, get a video about it.
I do feel like we are living, every lesson that the girls get at the moment has a video linked to it at the moment, which is brilliant, because I'm like, I can't explain reflection, refraction, all this stuff, and they've got different videos for different things, and body part, all sorts of stuff for the kids to look at. And you're right, it is being creative, isn't it? Sometimes we just kind of revert back to what we know. I know that I kind of took myself out of so many groups of Facebook. When this started, there was like a lockdown parents group and this group and that group, and I was just like overwhelmed by the amount of information that was there. And I thought, well, my priority really is just, can you read something? Can you write something? Can you add up something every day, or do some kind of mathematics every single day, just to kind of make sure their brains are stimulated? But I love the idea of using pasta and pegs and buttons and bits and bobs that we've got in the house.
Chalk and paint, anything, whatever you can find.
Wow, gosh, that's really good. And it kind of then takes off the pressure of thinking, gosh, I don't have a school cupboard of resources that I need to teach them,
Like pasta will do. You don't have to go and like spend your money on fancy counters, and I mean, you can, but don't feel like that's what you have to do to make it work. Do you know what I mean? So you can use what you've got. Brilliant.
Got another question that's just come in, and it's, this is a good one. Do you follow the national curriculum?
No, we don't.
Short answer.
Because you don't have to. But saying that, I mean, obviously we do maths and literacy and things like that. So the stuff that we're doing would be on the national curriculum somewhere, but we don't follow it like, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. This is Naomi's working. She would be in year 2 at the moment, but she's working at year 3 stuff in maths for some things, because she's, I don't know, we just got that, we just developed that way. So we do what we do. We don't follow the national curriculum, but the things that they're doing would be on the national curriculum somewhere. I don't know actually what they would be doing in school right about now. I have to remember what year they would be in.
Right.
But I know that they're learning and they're progressing in their learning journey as well.
Okay.
But you can follow the national curriculum if you want to. I don't think I've got anything against the national curriculum as a whole, but we don't follow it strictly. Definitely not. No.
Okay, it's cool. Okay, thank you for that. Another question. They're firing away now.
Okay.
Another question that's just come through. So do you do any kind of assessments with them to know where they are at, or whether where their levels are, achievement and stuff like that?
Okay, so they don't have to do anything like SATs or any of those sorts of like official assessments. I would do assessments with them. So like if what we're working on at the moment, Caleb's been doing like some number work, and we are working from a workbook, and in the workbook there is an assessment section. So we would do that, but I mean, it's not like an official assessment that his results get sent off anywhere. But it's good for us to kind of see how he's doing with it, and if there's anything that we've done that he hasn't grasped, and if we need to go back over it, things like that. So we do assessments, but they're not like official assessments.
Cool. Makes sense. I think it's hard, isn't it? Because the whole point of homeschooling is that it's not school. So
Yeah.
you don't want to go down the route of trying to recreate that school environment and the school sort of settings and stuff like that when you know that you're doing it a particular way. And I suppose you've got to be able to just know that you are making progress, but you'd know that, wouldn't you? So
you do. And it's shown in, so you don't, well, in my opinion, you don't really need to do a test to know whether your child is progressing in something. I don't know, when we could be learning about something, and then like 2 months down the road, we'd be walking down the road, and Caleb would remind Caleb of something that we talked about 2 months ago, and he'd say, "Oh, Mummy, look, that's oh gosh, I'm putting myself on the spot now, but we'd be learning about angles and parallel lines and things like that. Oh, Mummy, that's a parallel line, and you know." And it's like, oh, it's stuck. Like, he remembered that. I'm like, well done, Caleb. Yeah, you know, that's really good. So just in living day-to-day life, because the thing is, when you're home educating, learning isn't just in like the classroom. It's a lifestyle. It's everywhere you are, whatever you're doing, you're learning. So if we're walking around the supermarket and Caleb starts talking about something, that is like, that's normal for us. That's what we do, you know.
Yeah.
It's just, everything is a lesson, everything is learning. So it's not just a case of this is learning and now we're living.
Right.
All combined. It's just a lifestyle now.
Yeah. And that is definitely the definition for me, definitive point, because I think what we've sort of become used to and accustomed to is learning happens in a place, and that's called school. And then when you're not at school, you're not learning. And sometimes, you know, I've been guilty of that. It's like, oh, we haven't done any additional learning, or so we've just chilled, for example, for weekend, which is fine. But in situations where we are today, it's kind of like, actually learning doesn't have to take place in a place of school or a university. Learning can happen anywhere. It can happen outside. It can happen in your house. It can happen in your room, in the kitchen, anything. And it's an opportunity, really.
Absolutely. And also, one of the things that I try and instill in my children is that you don't have to be taught something to learn it. Like, you don't have to have a teacher standing in front of you for you to learn a subject or learn a topic. If you're interested in something, you can research it for yourself. You can learn it for yourself, so that they're self-led learners.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really important. It's really important for me that they have that skill. Because I find, even as an adult, because I went through the whole educational system, I find it a bit of a struggle. Like, if someone's not teaching it me, is this valid? Like, have I got to have a teacher teach this to me? Do I have to go to university and have this taught to me before I can consider this knowledge?
Yes.
You know what I mean? But we've got the internet and books, and, you know, there's so many ways to learn things, you know, and it means that you can develop a love for learning. If Caleb or Naomi, because they come up with all sorts of wild things, like, oh, what's this? And it's crazy, and no one knows the answer because it's not normal. But we can go on the internet and we can find out about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's learned that then, that, you know, it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah. Awesome. That's brilliant. I love that. And I love it because it kind of leads nicely, actually kind of answers my question, but leads nicely onto another question I've got. And then I've got another question after that. Okay. So the thing I was going to talk a little bit about, I want you to expand on a little bit, is that, especially for this situation, that the informal and formal learning. So in your normal day, you said at the beginning that you kind of do a focus piece of maths and English and stuff, but how does it work? So you can kind of reassure parents about the learning and informal learning styles. Because I know school's quite formal, they sit at a desk, they do it this way, etc. So if you could expand on that, if that makes sense, that'd be great.
Right. So there's different ways of doing it. Some home educators are very structured in the way that they deliver education to them. And it's pretty much like recreating school at home. So you've got set times, there are lessons that are for a set period of time, and this is what's going to be done, quite structured. There are some home educators that have zero structure whatsoever, and that's kind of like child-led or unschooling, where it's very much completely led by the child. So if the child is interested in something, that's where they go, that's what they do. And then you might have home educators that are sort of semi-structured, you know, they've got so you might have a bit of structure, but you're quite free as well. And then you have home educators that are like a combination of all three. I kind of dip into different methods depending on where we're at as a family. But I think on the whole, I'm probably a bit semi-structured. So we would have a focused bit of learning, but it's not really like this, you know, we're going to do a 10-minute lesson or a half-an-hour lesson on this or that. It's just like, these are the activities that we've got. So you can do these whenever you're ready. Just get them done, like, and I'm here to support. Naomi's younger, so she needs a lot more. But Caleb's still young, so he's not kind of off doing his own thing completely. So it's kind of like, it's a bit free, but there is some structure in there. At this time, for people that don't necessarily, well, for people that don't home educate ordinarily, I think it's difficult. I think if schools are sending out work and they're expecting it to get done, and your child's happy to do it, then crack on with it. But personally, if your child's not wanting to do that and it's causing stress and war in the house, then I would just mix it up. Like, I'd just scale it right back and just like try and find your own way of dealing with it, because you don't need a war.
Yeah.
You don't need a war with it.
So true. So true. We've got to pick our battles, haven't we? I think that's a good piece of wisdom right there. And I think for me, I mean, what I've kind of had to do is, the older two are in senior school, so it's a given. They've got stuff and they're just cracking on with it, and they're managing it how they need to manage it, which has worked really well for them. My younger two, the third one is, she's very much learner. She wants to learn, she wants to be in the book, she wants to read, she wants to write, and when she does it, she does it really, really fast, so she gets through. That I was saying to you on the phone, actually, they sent these home packs. I think it was a parent or maybe a school teacher sent through these home packs to complete, and I'm not sure how long it was supposed to take, but she'd done it in like a day. And I was like, well, if that's the home pack for the whole, you know, time we're meant to be off, we're finished, because there's no work left to do. But and then my youngest daughter, she's quite opposite. She's much younger, she's 6, and she really is. She was just getting into the swing of things in year 1, and now it's like, well, I don't even know. She's managed to make massive progress in maths, but she enjoys doing that. So we've kind of focused on getting her through the math stuff, helping along with a bit of the reading, and she's not interested in any of that stuff really. She'd rather sing and add up basically all day. And I've kind of just gone a little bit along with what she wants to do, because I think, well, I don't want her to get to a point where she doesn't like learning, because it's just stressful and frustrating. And I couldn't handle that as a parent, so I've kind of gone along with it. So it's interesting that you're saying it. I think you've kind of given a lot of parents permission to say, oh, it's okay, like, this is hard.
I think, you know, and also this is temporary. We don't know how long it's going to be, but it is temporary. So at some point, the children are going to be heading back into school. No one can, I don't think it's fair for parents to be feeling like, oh my gosh, if I'm not on the ball with this, they're gonna fall behind. I don't like that. I feel like that's really unfair. You know, parents have been thrown into this as it's, I mean, and you know, parents, they're not teachers, dinner ladies, all the things that you said earlier, you know, and you can't just expect parents to keep their child, you know, on this like path that they're supposed to be going on, and then if that doesn't happen, you know, the child has fallen behind. I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that that's, I would like to think that that's not what schools would be doing. I think that when the children go back, whenever they go back, the teachers are just going to have to pick up where they left off and just work with it, because everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah, very true.
I think it's fair to put that pressure on the parents for a situation that they haven't asked to be in.
Cool. Thank you. Got another question. Have you had to learn topics for yourself before teaching them? How do you know what to teach them? Because I'm scratching my head at some of that maths.
I feel like with the maths, I'm okay. Like I feel like because they're like key stage 1 and key stage 2.
Yeah.
I haven't hit that point yet where I'm like, whoa. Although to be fair, we were learning about Roman numerals. I don't know if I weren't at school that day or if they were like because I kind of knew what they were talking about. It just wasn't. I knew it was a number, and but Caleb had to. It came up in his book. We use a workbook for maths, and so we had to learn the whole sort of topic. But you see, now I know Roman numerals, so it's okay.
That's brilliant.
You know what though? It is really nice to kind of learn things alongside them that you don't know. What I will say, like we do history, and for me, there's a lot of Black history that I don't know, and I'm learning that alongside the children. But that's a really nice. Are you back?
I'm here.
Are you there?
I'm here. Don't worry. I'm here. I don't know why it froze. Don't worry. Keep going.
Yeah, so it's been a nice journey learning those things together. I feel like you shouldn't be afraid if your child's doing a topic that you don't know, because you're showing them that you don't know everything. Adults don't know everything. And when you don't know something, you go out and you learn it. You know, if that's something that interests you, you go out and learn it. Education doesn't stop when you hit 16 or 18. It's lifelong. There's loads of things that we don't know, and you shouldn't learn it.
True.
You know, children, when they're inquisitive and curious, they ask wild questions. Mommy, what's this? Mommy, what? Oh, I don't know. Let's find out. That's how we do it.
I think you're right, and I think that's if this situation has taught us anything, is that we are in control of everything. We don't know everything. We can't answer every question that we get asked, and we have to sometimes just go with it, because that's what this has taught us. Sometimes we just have to be where we are with it and accept it. And I think you know, you've given us so much different things to think about, just in how we approach education in general. Let me read this. Question. Another question, got a few more minutes left. What would you say to parents that have given up and feel really discouraged during this time?
I would say give yourself a big dose of grace. Just be around you. Try not to pass that stress on to the child. Just hug your children, love your children, and know that this isn't going to last for long, and you're shipping them back to school soon. Like there's no, you haven't got to feel bad about that, because if you haven't chosen home education and you haven't, it's just not something that it's just something that you know that you don't want to do, you couldn't do it. That's okay. There's no shame. I feel like that sometimes. You have bad days. It's okay. Don't stress about it. Hug your children, enjoy them, and know that they'll be going back to school soon. Like just cross it. Don't stress yourself out about it. You have to remember to look after your mental health, look after your children's mental health, and don't let it stress you. Like just don't let it stress you. Just enjoy your children, and you might be surprised once you relax and chill about it. You might be surprised what your children come up with.
Oh, brilliant. I've got one question for you, and I'll probably take another couple. So if there's any more questions out there on Facebook, please let us know and send them over to us so we can ask Yolande while she's here. My question is, what do you do for you? How do you take time out for yourself? Because you are busy. So how do you do that? What do you do? I'm
very strict about taking my time for myself. Like it's one of my non-negotiables. Like there will come a time, usually once Mark's come home from work and we've had dinner, like I clock off, like I'm not here anymore. If you need anything, go to daddy. like, this is me time, and I will take myself away. I'm either upstairs, like reading, or on my laptop, or doing whatever. Like, it's important. And I notice when I don't take that time for myself, and the household notices when I don't take that time for myself. So it's a must. It's a non-negotiable for me and for the household as a whole. Like, if I'm down, out, miserable, they're gonna feel it. So I have to make that time. I really do. I would take myself out of the house ordinarily, but we're in, and I'll just read or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also work, well, not at the moment with all this, but I normally work part-time, and that gets me out of the house too. Like, separate time away from the children. So there's that. Like, take the time you need for yourself. It's important.
Awesome. Brilliant. And I co-sign 100% with that. I need to practice it a bit more, but you know,
it's necessary.
It's necessary. Yeah. Okay, another question that's just come through, and thank you to everybody that's sending through questions as well. Really appreciate it. It's been really good actually so far. Okay, so if a person wanted to, this is good because this is one of my questions actually. A person wanted to start the homeschooling journey and take their child out of school, what is the process?
Okay, yeah, that sounds like, so basically you just have to write a letter to the school, unless your child is in a special educational needs provision, like a special school, not in mainstream but statemented, or it's not called that anymore. Okay, so if they're in mainstream education, you just have to write a letter to the head and say that you're choosing to home educate. You can like put a date to say we'll be home educating from this particular date, or you could do it on the day. So what I did for Caleb is I just wrote a letter, took it into the school on the day that he was, like a Monday, he was supposed to go to school, but I took the letter instead of the child, and then I went home. And it was dated from like that day.
Wow.
And that's fine. Like, that's legally, like, you can do that.
Okay.
That's fine. You just write it to the head, and then they will notify the local authority, and then the local authority will contact you just to be sure that that is something that you do want to do, because some schools force parents to home educate, which is a whole nother topic. So they like to check that, so they like to check that it's a decision that you are actually making and your child's not being like off-road.
Okay. In that, yeah, I understand what you mean in that way. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Gosh, that's for another day. That's for another conversation, I think.
Let them force you to home educate your children if you don't want to.
Well, I think not. I think, well, this is the only scenario where we've been forced.
Apart from this.
But I'm really, I think you've done a fantastic job, and you should be really proud of yourself and your children and your family. I follow your journey. You can follow Yolande's journey as well. We'll put all the information attached to all the notes and all the rest of it that we do after this. But Yolande, thank you so much for joining us, for answering those challenging questions, and for being so transparent and honest. You've given women and men and parents out there who are looking after children a lot of hope, and you've showed us that there is a way forward through this. Afterwards, send me over the links to your resources and stuff that you need, and we can share those resources out again. So if anybody's looking out for ways and tips and ideas and things to keep their children busy, then I know you've got loads and loads of ideas. But for now, thank you so very much, and stay safe.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Lovely. Take care.
And you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.